Hello and welcome to Verbal to Visual. My name is Doug Neill, and today I'm going to ask the question, what's essential this year? I'm going to ask that question of you. I'm also going to ask and answer that question for myself, because it's the time of the year to be doing that. We're approaching this transition time that for many people is a nice opportunity to step back a little bit, look at our life or our career from a holistic perspective, see how things have gone, and see what we might want to change for the year ahead. And this is actually the first video in a 3-part series kind of connected to this annual review process, if you want to think of it as that. I will point out though that you don't have to wait for the end of one year and the start of a new one to go through this process. You can do it anytime it feels important, but I do find that rolling over to a new calendar year is just a nice time for this type of deep thinking and intention setting. It's a good time to do that type of work. Before I sketch out my response to that question, I want to point out a place where you can share your response and talk through it with other people. I recently started a Patreon specifically for this channel to share resources connected to each of the individual videos that I post here. So that's where you'll be able to find some bonus downloads, some behind the scenes related to how I make these videos, and also an opportunity for some Q&A. And along with that, it's a place for folks who are interested in sketchnoting, the main skill that we talk about here. It's a place for us to have conversations. So if that sounds interesting and helpful to you, and you'd like to support what I do here, then check out the link down in the description below. All right, let's get into it. So there's a specific reason why I'm using the word essential here. It's connected to one of the most impactful books that I've read in the past few years. That book is called Essentialism, written by Greg McKeown, and actually one of my most popular videos over the past couple of years is a visual summary of that book, which I encourage you to go check out. I actually found it very helpful to rewatch that video myself as I was thinking about how this past year went and what I want to do in the upcoming year. The subtitle of that book is The Disciplined Pursuit of Less, and the core idea is summarized in this diagram here, that it's so easy to let yourself be pulled in multiple directions, but how those multiple pursuits and distributed efforts are less likely to actually get you to where you want to go, which is where a focus on the essentials can take you. When you align that effort in the single direction that's the most important to you. I share many of the main ideas from this book in that visual summary that I just mentioned, but here I like to highlight just a couple, the two that feel most important to me right now. The first is the idea of editing, intentionally seeking out those places where you can make subtractions in your life that actually add to the quality of it. And I feel like it's helpful to actually have those two words, subtraction and addition, right next to each other, because it seems like they don't go together, but I think it is true that you can actually add quality to your day-to-day experience by removing certain things from it. The other idea that resonated most is one about maintaining buffers and taking a look at how much space there is between what you're currently focused on and some future commitment. And I think most frequently about financial buffers and time buffers. On the financial side, it's a question of how much space is there in between your monthly expenses and your monthly income. Is there a comfortable enough gap there for you not to feel stressed on a daily basis about your finances? And in regards to time, what have you committed yourself to, and how much time have you actually allotted to those tasks? And is there enough space in between those tasks for the inevitable things that take longer than you expect them to, or those interruptions that you have to address? With those two ideas in mind, let me now share how 2019 looked and how I want 2020 to look. And in my case, the thing that I'd like to develop some momentum around is an independent creative career. That's what I've been pursuing for the past 5 or 6 years since I stepped away from high school teaching and jumped into the world of online education. And while generally speaking, I feel like over the years I've added momentum to my career, slowly but surely, in 2019 I feel like it looked too much like that distributed diagram diagram on the left, and not enough like the focused, momentum-gaining one on the right. And here are the specific things that I pursued this past year. This project here, Verbal to Visual, was the biggest. I finished up a couple of courses that I had started the year before, learn a new language with sketchnotes, and build an online course with sketchnotes, and I continued to make videos for this YouTube channel. But I also chose to make 2019 a year when I would kind of start dipping my toe in the waters of other creative work as well. I started a podcast called The Doug Neill Show, in which I documented my journey building a creative career. That was mostly a behind-the-scenes show where I kind of talked about how I structure my creative career. It was a place to address the challenges related to small-scale entrepreneurship on a week-to-week basis and try to start developing some ideas and some resources for others who are pursuing a similar career path. And on that show, I talked about two other specific creative pursuits that I've also referenced here on Verbal to Visual because I've sketchnoted things about them. One of those is writing essays, something that I'd like to do in the future because I do really enjoy the writing process. And another is making music, another interest of mine that I've always wanted to dedicate some weekly time to. When laid out in this way, it's pretty easy to see why I got overwhelmed with everything that I was trying to pursue this year, especially considering that I am the only person working on any of these projects. I don't have assistants or employees to help with email or editing or recording or any of these things, which is intentional. I like doing all of those things myself, and I like keeping my work simple in that way, but I don't think I can have it both ways. I can't do everything myself with each of those projects and expect to gain momentum with all of them. That's why things are going to look a lot different in 2020. As much as I enjoyed what was coming up via the Doug Neill Show, and as much as I wanted to keep spending time working on my writing and music skills, I need to put all three of those on the shelf and focus just on Verbal to Visual again. And once I got past that feeling of disappointment around quitting those three projects, it was almost like a little bit of mourning required to say goodbye to those things. Once I did that, I actually got really excited about focusing on just one thing, because there is plenty for me to do with just this single project here. And I'll point out three things in particular. The biggest one is course development. A few weeks back, I announced the latest course that I'm developing, a course called Digital Sketchnoting. I'm excited to explore and share ideas around how best to use the tablet and stylus tool combination for sketchnoters, for taking notes and maybe even like I'm doing here, making videos and giving presentations. I've also found a renewed enthusiasm for making these standalone videos, ones that I post to YouTube. These have always been a place for me to explore single ideas that might not fit within a specific course, but things that I find interesting and that I'm pretty sure other folks interested in visual note-taking will also find interesting. And maybe most important of all, in 2020, I'm making more time for personal sketchnoting projects, because in order for me to make online courses about sketchnoting and make these standalone videos, I need to keep adding fuel to my own fire. And I do that by using sketchnoting to pursue whatever thing I'm curious about any given week or month. That might be studying Spanish in preparation for a trip abroad, or maybe learning about trees because of a really good novel that I just read. When I give myself time to engage in those personal sketchnoting projects, I find that those other two pieces come so much more naturally, because I'm excited about the role that sketchnoting plays in my life, and I want to share that excitement with you. And that's what I hope to do with the courses and the videos that I make. So the hope then is that with a focus on those three categories in particular, funneling all three of those through Verbal to Visual is what will add to the momentum of my independent creative career. One of the reasons that I'm excited about simplifying my work life in the way that I just described is that my personal life has gotten much more complex this past year in a very good way. Just this past year, I got married, we got a dog, and we're about to buy a house. We are set to close, fingers crossed, on December 30th, a day before we leave the country for our honeymoon. So that's a lot. And those are the types of things that I want to be able to show up for in a full way. And I find that the more projects I try to cram into my work life, into my creative career, the harder it is to bring myself to those other things in the way that I want to. And with the prospect of starting a family in the next few years, that complexity isn't going away. And I don't want it to, but I do need to make space for it. And that's why I'm so gung-ho about this plan that I have. If you would like to follow along to see how this plan goes, or if you'd like to develop your own sketchnoting skills to be able to wrap your head around whatever it is you're learning or planning or problem solving around, then check out the resources at verbaltovisual.com. I encourage you to check out our online courses there, and also all of those standalone videos that I've made. Speaking of those standalone videos, that's where the new Patreon that I mentioned at the beginning of this video comes in. There's some extra attention that I want to give to each of these videos, and mostly that's within the realm of creating additional resources that make these things more helpful to you and more actionable. And that's the role that I want the perks for patrons to serve, just to make it a little bit easier for you to take what you've listened to and watched in these videos and do something with them yourself. So if you've been enjoying the videos that I've been making and you want to support the creation of more of these videos, in addition to supporting your own sketchnoting skill development, then do go check out that Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com/sketchnotes. And as I mentioned earlier, this is actually the first in a 3-part series related to reflecting on the past year and making some plans and intentions for the year to come. So stay tuned for part 2 and 3 of this series in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Till next time.